Hi everyone, welcome to Carl Hour Photography. It's time for some high school baseball. Let's roll the intro and get right into it. Okay, so I'm headed to All City Park, or All Star Park, in Lakewood, Colorado, just outside of Denver. I'm going to be covering, I'm trying to think who's playing. It's Ralston Valley and Columbine, I believe. I've had so many games there this week, and to be honest, I took you with me 2 games. And the first game I got there, and there was so much mayhem going on, I didn't have time to do any other filming once I got there. And then the second game I got there, and I forgot to put the memory card in my vlogging camera when I got to the field, so I had no way to record anything. So I've got battery, fully charged battery, and my memory card in there, formatted, all ready to go, and we're on our way down to the ballpark. This ballpark is really, it's nice and it's not nice. It was designed after Coors Field, where the Colorado Rockies play, and I believe it's just a smaller scale layout of the field, of the park. The building itself, the facility itself, looks nothing like Coors Field, but the field itself is supposed to be to some fraction of the dimensions of Coors Field, and that's kind of neat. It's a really nice place to photograph at because you don't have a lot of bad backgrounds. And Colorado Christian plays at this field. But unfortunately, over the years, they have let this field go, and they don't seem to water it. The last 2 games, it's been really dusty and dry, and just not a fun place for the players to play. I've heard coaches complaining why they aren't maintaining it. I mean, I live about 6 miles away from it, and on game days, at least for the high schools, for a small fee, I'd come down and I'd take care of the field. I'd maintain the field. I would water the dirt down, make sure that the dirt's where the dirt's supposed to be, and the grass is where the grass is supposed to be. I would water the grass. I would make sure everything was ready to go for a game. I'd chalk the lines. I'd put the bases out. I'd do it all, and make sure that this facility was going to be ready and looking as good as it could. But yeah, it's not being maintained the way it should be anymore. But it's still a nice field to shoot at, and I'm going to be shooting with 2 cameras. Now, there are multiple locations you can shoot from. During the regular season, they don't seem to be making a media box. They save that for the playoffs, and they have the 1A and 2A Final Four, or final championship games there. So you can shoot from on top of the dugouts, which I do like to do, but it's kind of a pain to get up there, and if you want to switch sides during the game, it's really difficult. So I probably won't shoot from on top of the dugout today. My plan is to shoot from the first base dugout for the first 3 innings of the game, and then for the next 2 innings, I'll shoot from the third base dugout, and then for the 6th and potentially 7th inning, I will shoot from behind the backstop. Now I'm going to be using my 300mm with my 1.4 on my Canon 1D Mark IV, and then my 70-200 on my 70 Mark II. When I'm behind the backstop, and I'll show you some photos of that, but when I'm behind the backstop, I will get as close to the fencing as I can and shoot between the chain links. At 2.8 and at f4 with the 300 and 1.4 by teleconverter, you can do this. You can shoot through the fence and not see the fence. With a wider aperture lens, like if you were shooting with, let's say, a kit lens from a digital Rebel, at full zoom, your kit lens is going to be at about f5.6, and you're going to get around the edges a dark area where the chain link is. But with a faster lens, you can shoot right through that chain link and not have a problem. So that's what I'll be doing, and shooting the picture head on. I believe, yep, there we go. And it is All-Star Park. I knew it was something like that. But anyway, I am just getting here to the field, so I'm gonna end this now, and then when I get onto the field and get my stuff unpacked, I'll show you where I'll be shooting from, and then we'll see some photos from the game. So until then, hold on. Okay, so here we are at All-Star Park. I just talked to the coaches, asked them if it was okay if I shot from the dugout. They said fine. Typically, right around here, we'd have a media box, but on each side, but they aren't drawing the media boxes for us. So, and like I was saying, I could shoot on top of the dugouts, but they're really difficult to get up on. I need to bring a step stool to make it easier. But anyway, this is the park. Both teams are warming up, and I'll be shooting from basically this corner here for the first 3 innings, the same place on the other side, and then behind the backstop. So we'll take a look at some pictures next. Okay, so starting off on the first base dugout side, I'm looking at right-handed batters, and this is exactly what I was looking for. This batter in his standard position, looking to hit the ball. Now, unfortunately, with baseball, especially high school baseball, you're going to find that the batters look down quite a bit, and the brim of their batting helmet will cover their eyes. There are some ways you can get around this, shooting at ground level if you're able to. I mean, having the camera right at ground level. But mostly you're going to be stuck with images like this, or worse. Now, speaking of worse, here the batter is looking straight down. Unfortunately, all you see is his chin. But on the bright side, look at where the ball is positioned. This is one of these events called a bat-on ball or a bob. This is something you're looking for in just about every image you're taking when you're shooting a batter swinging. You want that bat-on ball. Even though he's looking down, the parents are going to love this type of photo. Now, all 3 of these first images were taken with my 70-200 on my 1D Mark IV. That way I could get the whole batter from the plate all the way up to the top of the bat in frame. Now, with baseball, and any ball sport, the consensus is you need the ball in the image to make sense. But with baseball, that's only true part of the time. A lot of times the ball's going to be in a glove where you can't see it, or it's been hit. And like this is the batter's backswing. He's already hit the ball. He's looking at where the ball's flying to. Thankfully, you can kind of see his eyes in this. He's let go with one hand. He's getting ready to run to first. So this is one of those exceptions that you don't need the ball in the image. Just like the very first image of just the batter standing there waiting for the pitch. Now here's a fun photo that I don't always like to see. This shows how dusty the field is, but when the catcher caught the ball, the dust on his glove just, it poofs out. Now, I had him framed with my 400mm, my 300mm with my 1.4 by teleconverter on my 7D, giving me over 600 field of view, 600mm field of view crop. So I had him all tucked down, waiting for a lower pitch, and the pitch came high, which caused him to raise up. So luckily his helmet and most of his glove, just one string is kind of cut off, and a lot of the dust. But this is a fun image to get, especially when you've been focusing on a batter that's been up for a while and you've already got plenty of shots of him swinging and uh, just waiting for the ball, whatever. You can start looking at other things, and the catcher was one of the things I looked at. And when a batter's been up so long, you can start looking. I mean, are there base runners on base? Here, there's a runner on third base. He's taking his lead. He's watching the batter. You've got the third base coach behind him. And this is something else you can start looking for when you've got plenty of shots of that specific batter. That, I mean, you could easily get 400 or 500 shots of an individual batter in an individual game. So you have to be selective. I try and get 10, 15 shots of a batter, and then I'll pick the best from that. And then while he's still up, I'll start looking elsewhere, looking at the bases. And I'll start watching for plays occurring in the infield or in the outfield. This batter who was up kept pulling the ball down the third base line, and I focused in on the third baseman, and he ended up pulling a shot to the shortstop. So I quickly panned the camera over to the shortstop, got him. I got him fielding the ball, bringing it up, and then this is probably the best image out of the series of him just going through his motion to throw it to first base for the out. And this ended my first 3 innings. Now, I mean, granted, I had a lot more photos. This is just a sample of them. But now we'll go over to third base side, and we'll see what we can get from that side. Now, from the third base side, unless you have a lot of left-handed batters that are going to come up and be facing you, you can get bored really quickly, especially if your pitcher is left-handed and his back is to you. Luckily here, the pitcher is right-handed, and I was able, with the 300 millimeter and 1.4 by teleconverter on the 7D Mark II, really get in tight on him. I love the intensity in his eyes. He's got the ball back, looks like a split-finger fastball maybe, and the glove is right there. I can make a whole video on just shooting pitchers because the way they put their arms, some of them are more flamboyant with their wind-ups and their deliveries. Everybody has a different type of delivery, overhand sidearm, almost an underarm type throw. But this is something that you're able to start focusing on more than just the batters when you get to the third base side. And focusing on the pitchers is one of the things that you'll likely be doing, as well as focusing in on what's going on in the outfield. Pop flies hit to the outfield. Now, I would have loved to see a diving catch in this game. Unfortunately, when it came to the outfield and really the infield, there was not a whole bunch of action. But here's one of the left fielder catching a ball hit to him in the outfield. And so, I mean, you want to start, this is where you really need to start knowing baseball, knowing where batters have hit before, knowing what situations are on the bases, so you can start looking at different aspects and anticipating what's going to go on, so you can make the best photo. And that'll show up here in a few photos. So hold on just a minute. And here's another picture of the pitcher in his delivery. This was shot with the 70-200 2.8 IS on a 1D Mark IV. So again, I mean, I wanted to show this, and in fact, this is in a series using the motor drive. This is one of the times that you'll press down on the motor drive and just let it go, but you're basically getting him from wind up all the way through delivery. And this is a photo from somewhere in the middle of that burst. Now, there's a few things I want to talk about in this photo. First of all, I mean, it's just a runner on second. He's taking his lead. He's actually letting the runner on third and the runner on first know that, hey, there's 2 outs. He's got his 2 fingers up. So, I mean, there's that. While there's no action, the ball hasn't been hit, he's not running. He's doing something, and he's doing something kind of cool. It's almost like Too Sweet here. But beyond that, this is also showing that even in a beautiful sunny day, baseball cannot get the best exposures. I mean, we've got the brim of his hat shading his eyes. Yes, I've got some detail in his eyes, but because I've got the detail in his eyes, there's a very little bit of detail I lost in his shorts, or his pants, his baseball pants. Not a lot, as you can see. You can see crinkles and dust and stuff in there, but it is blowing out a little bit, so there's a little bit lost there. But that's what you do when you're playing a baseball game at 2:30 in the afternoon in April in Colorado. And it being Colorado, the clouds rolled right in and it became overcast for a while. And so I've got more detail in the pants in this image. But here's another image of the outfielder, something I was watching for. And thankfully for this one, he was running really fast. This was a short fly, and he didn't catch it, but he got in there, and his hat started to come off. And during his throw, it was just barely resting on his head, kind of like that image. Now, this image is not technically one of my favorite images. Typically, I won't even show you this image, but I wanted to show you what came after this image. This, again, using the Canon 300mm, 400mm, 500 and 600, there's something on it. You can set pre-focus. And there's a little ring on the lens that you can pre-focus on something like second base. And then you could be shooting, and when there's going to be something at second base, you could quickly hit that ring, and it'll automatically focus to the distance of second base, and then you're in focus for something going on there quicker than you would be if you're trying to track an image, track a subject. So while I beat the runner to second base, I was able to get to second base, start photographing, getting him sliding in, and this was probably the best image resulting from that series. You've got the second baseman jumping over the base runner. It made for a good series, a good action event. Unfortunately, neither one of them are looking up. So I mean, that's a drawback, but that's baseball. That's sports. And something else to be looking for at second base, coming towards third, when you're shooting on that third base side, are runners going for extra bases. This runner is rounding second. You can see that determination in his face, and he's got his arms pumping and his legs are pumping. I would have liked to have framed this a little bit better, but with him moving up and down, up and down, up and down, I was trying to keep the camera steady and keeping him in frame as much as possible. But at this point, I realized, you know what? There's no left-handed batters on either one of these teams. So I stayed for the end until the end of the inning and got one more outfield shot, which we'll see right now. And this was probably the most action in the outfield of all the game. This player was able to get under the ball. He realized it was going to go over his head a little bit. He jumped. So I've got him in the air. I just didn't get any lovely diving shots of outfielders in this game. But in the next upload, you'll see one. So after that inning, I moved behind the backstop and got as close to the fence as I could. I mean, really, my lens hood was right up against the fence. So you could tell in the following images, if you look at the outfield fence, you can see kind of a weird bokeh. It's not that smooth bokeh. Well, that's because of the fence that I'm shooting through. It results in weird spectral highlights. But anyway, this way you could start getting shots of the pitcher head on. This is with the 70-200. I also shot with the 300 and 1.4 by teleconverter to get some really tight shots. Now here's a series of two shots, one right after another, of a third baseman making a move towards the ground ball. He thinks he's got a play on it. It's good action. This is from behind the backstop, so I'm angling my lens a little bit so I can get up the third base line, and I'm getting him moving, and then he's getting his glove down. Unfortunately, he got his glove down too late, and the ball shot past him. But this is showing that you can get another angle of action shots. You don't have to be shooting from the dugout to get these infield action shots. You can do it from behind the backstop and shooting through the fence. So keep that in mind when you're out there shooting. This was the last inning, and I was able to get a couple shots of the pitcher here in his windup, one with the 70-200 on the 1D Mark IV, and one with the 300 on the 70 Mark II. As you can see, the windups are a little different. They're at little different points, but overall, very similar pictures, but pictures parents will love. And then here's a pop fly going towards first base. I think it ended up in the outfield, or in the foul territory. But again, this is showing you can cover first, second, short, and third fielders from behind the backstop. So don't just focus on the picture when you're back there. It's really easy, again, to shoot a lot of photos of the picture there. Speaking of which, here's another picture shot. New picture, I think it was their closer. One of the last few images I got in the game. I like the fact that the ball is just been released. You can see both his eyes. He's got his tongue stuck out. His foot's still on the rubber. He's got his planted foot right there. It's just a good overall image. But anyway, I hope these images and my little talk here has inspired you to get out there and shoot some baseball. It shows, I mean, these are the same techniques, the same approach I would use to shoot anything from Little League Baseball all the way up to Major League Baseball. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Hit the little bell to notify you when a new video goes up. And tell your friends. This is really, this channel is not just for pros out there working on a regular basis or people who just need a little inspiration to get out there. As this video can show you, you as a parent or as just a fan can go to a Little League park or a high school park and not even step foot on the field and still be able to get some shots that are magazine, Sports Illustrated, ESPN quality. You just need the gear and the patience and the knowledge of the game. If you don't know baseball, start watching baseball. It's America's pastime. It's a great game. It's really a thinking person's game. So, I mean, if you're just out for the entertainment, that's where NBA basketball comes in. That's where NFL football comes in. But if you really want a game that makes you think and is fun as heck, get out there and shoot some baseball. Speaking of baseball, the next video will be on baseball, so it's on this very special game here in Colorado. A game that I was really kind of aggravated at, that they didn't do more for it. But we'll talk about that in the next video. And we've got a contest coming up, and part 2 of the strobing video is coming up. The series on strobing is coming up. So get ready for that, and until next time, keep shooting.